Welcome to the Essential Oils Podcast, the podcast where we talk not only about essential oils, but natural health in general. And for those interested, how to build a wellness based business around it. I strongly believe that everyone should have the knowledge to be a health coach in their own home. And when you understand health better, you're more confident, you get less sick, and you rely less on doctors on popping pills. This podcast is dedicated to teaching and empowering others to be healers in their own home. And with the help of my wife, Nini, we hope to take you on a powerful journey of health discovery. Welcome to the show. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. This week, I want to talk to you guys about chronic pain and just something that I see that gets in. And, I talk to a lot of people on a weekly basis, and we talk about, one of the issues with their weight loss too. Is just having a lot of inflammation, having a lot of chronic pain, the inability to actually go out and be physically active. And they know it's so vitally important when it comes to just long-term health. And when you look at muscle mass and sarcopenia, and movement is energy, right? Movement is life. Movement is breath. And so being able to move effectively and efficiently is important. And so when we have these nagging injuries and we have that, it can be really detrimental to our health. And so I thought I would go in today and I would talk about a product that I really like. It's called Deep Blue by doTERRA, and it's a stick that you use and you can just rub it on your body. It's a really amazing, and it has copaiba in it, which is also an amazing essential oil. And I might do a deep dive just on copaiba maybe next week, because I've seen it work with a lot of clients just in terms of with Crohn's and just inflammation and lowering that, and even just on a nervous system issue. And that is actually the key, is the nervous system. So stay tuned. I also want to I want to make this show fun, and I want to make it so that you guys can start getting the benefits that I see in my own life using natural holistic health solutions like essential oils. And so if you guys are interested, I want to do like a little giveaway and incentivize you. So there is a kit on doTERRA. It's called the Athlete's Kit. It's got a really nice blend of oils, and it's also got this Deep Blue that I'm talking about for injuries and inflammation and soothing sore muscles and reducing that and creating that calming effect. And I think it's like $100. But if you use the link that's in the show notes, I think it's www.doterra.com/Nini Joel. And if you go to that and you use that to sign up, you start an account and you buy the Athlete's Kit, I'm going to send you guys a free gift, because I really think I want to start making change right away. I want to start seeing you getting the benefits that I see and I get, and then I see what other people get. And so that's my offer to you guys if you want to take me up on it. But today, so I want to go into why we even have chronic pain, why it's an issue, and then talk about some of the healing effects that you can use with essential oils. Now, here's the thing. There's a great podcast I did with Garrett Salpeter. He's the founder of NewFit, okay? And he has an amazing book called The NewFit Method. And I am a NewFit practitioner. It's an electric stim. It's a DC electric stim current, and it helps rehab and get rid of people's injuries in a very fast time. And we talk about the nervous system and pain and how he uses the electric current to actually reduce inflammation, reduce pain, and actually get people better in like half the amount of time. I mean, the testimonials are crazy. He works with professional athletes and all this. And so I think it's important to understand pain first, and how pain and how it works. Okay. Now, pain is caused from the brain and the nervous system. And so what your brain does when you get injured, when you get hurt, your brain sends signals to guard and protect and brace around the injury, right? It's actually really smart. We want it to do that. And so imagine if you hurt your shoulder or something, and now all of a sudden you can't raise it above your head. Well, the reason you can't, maybe you can only get to here, is because the brain feels pain. And when it tries to, there's this output signal saying to the brain, don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to get hurt again. This perceived this movement, it's a threat. And it sends that pain signal from the arm to the brain. And your brain now starts to bias protection and survival, right? It's in fight or flight. And so what does it do? It starts to restrict your movements, and it starts to keep you in this comfort zone. The problem is the brain gets into this neuro pain feedback loop, and it can get stuck. and it sticks there and you stay there, then what happens? You start to move a different way, right? And then over many, many, many years, you start like with this hunchback or this kyphosis, this neck moving forward, right? Because we're always hunched over. Well, your brain starts to, it's the path of least resistance. The brain just starts to formulate those new patterns. And the next thing you know, you have more and more pain. So one of the neat things that Garrett does, so go back to that episode of the Hack Life podcast with Garrett Salpeter. And he is, again, from the NeuFit method. It's NEUFIT. And this is what I'm talking about. He has a book. We did a podcast together. He's amazing. He's the founder, again, of NeuFit and the DC electric current that I'm talking about and how he gets people better. And so, but today what I want to talk about is, so, okay, if you're saying all of this, Joel, then how would essential oils play a role? Well, here's the neat thing. There's been some good studies done using the deep blue stick with copaiba, and they wanted to see what were the effects with, like, if you use like massage or aroma touch therapy on folks that had arthritis. And so what they did is it's not the biggest study in the world, but they took 36 participants with rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, chronic inflammation. And what they did is they used a preparation of this stick, and they had them put it on twice daily for 5 consecutive days. And they just wanted to see what would happen with the flexion in their finger and their thumb joints. And they evaluated it using this standardized arthritis hands function test. And then they also had them evaluate their hand pain scores. And what they found was that participants that were treated with the essential oil prep, they required significantly less time to complete their dexterity task, and they showed about a 50% decrease in pain scores. They increased their finger strength, and their maximum flexion, that ability increased, that range, that angle increased. Really cool stuff, right? And again, you're thinking, well, how is this happening? Well, my argument would be, we understand now how we just did a deep dive on how the nervous system perceives pain, why it's going to restrict your movement, why it's not going to let you do something. And so if you can change the input that the body is feeling, whether it's an electric stim current, or you're using something like essential oils or something to help modulate the way your brain perceives the pain, that's the same thing when you see athletes taping, right? They're taping. All you're doing is you're changing the input that the brain is receiving. And so those tapes the KT tape you see people using, they're changing the way the brain receives that input. And that is why people use it for pain modulation and to help them get into certain better ranges of motion. And if you can continue start to train in a better range of motion, you can start to reform those patterns in the brain. So it's really neat to actually see some studies being done and just something simple and like, hey, how can, in this case, essential oils is what I'm talking about. How can something like this, the deep blue, how can it help? So that's just one study, and that's just one way of looking at it. And my argument too, again, is if you use things like lavender and you use things like menthol and you create that soothing effect in the body, right? You are changing the nervous system. You're changing you're creating more of a parasympathetic response. And we know that the body cannot heal properly if it's not in a if it's not in a rested state, right? People with cancer, people in high stress state, your body will not, it's not going to heal. And so you need to create that state. We need to create that state so we can create a different input for the brain to receive so that it can actually change. And I think this is just one way that you could use something like an essential oil, using lavender, using some of these deep blue sticks. Now, they did another study looking at whether, like, how essential oils modulate the genome or the gene expression in human dermal fibroblasts. So they're just looking at the cells that form connective tissue. And they wanted to see, like, hey, can essential oils, can they do anything? Can they change the expression of genes? And what they found using this, what they call I don't know the exact testing this, the ingenuity pathway analysis, it showed that oils affected numerous critical genes and signaling pathways. Now, specifically, one of them was rosemary oil, which influenced in cancer signaling and metabolism. They also saw orange oil affecting the process related to cancer signaling and immune modulation effects with metabolism, as well as inflammation and wound healing and autoimmune. So I think that's pretty neat. It's pretty cool to see kind of some of the things that, that's happening. by just adding the actual gene expression. And again, we're going back to changing the inputs of the body. If we can change the signaling effects, and I've done numerous episodes, we talk about, and I got a great episode coming up with melatonin, and another one would be nitric oxide, which I did with Dr. Nathan Bryan, and we talk about how nitric oxide is such a powerful signaling molecule. And if you can create this change of input in the body, then you're going to regulate things like inflammation, circulation, and you're going to increase those pathways so that you can get to healing. Again, if the body has the right input, the body can heal. That's why I always say, if we can rebalance the body knows how to heal. It just needs the right input. And so there's just various different ways you can do it. Again, we're talking about electric stim therapy as a current, or you can use something as simple. Not everybody has access to an $18,000 machine, or they can go and, see a practitioner. I think that those are great things, but they don't always have that, they don't always have access to that. So here's just a simple one today. We're talking about Deep Blue for some of you guys that are arriving on live here. I'm talking about doTERRA's Deep Blue, and I'm talking about how these essential oils actually can help change that perception with the nervous system, and help you bring you back in that parasympathetic state. The last thing I'm just going to talk about is one last study that they did, and I can't even pronounce this because it's basically a pathway. It's called phosphatidylene 3 kinase gamma. They shorten it with like PI3KY. And they looked at how it affects T cells, right? We know T cells are part of your adaptive immune system, and they hold a memory. And if you can regulate T cells, then your body has a more robust immune system, and it can fight off pathogens, and it's a good thing, right? And so what they found, though, is that with people with like autoimmune and all these issues, they had an upregulated pathway of these cytokines, basically. And so what they looked at is they're like, hey, well, what they found was using something like a Deep Blue actually inhibited this pathway of these cytokine pathways. And so guess what happened? Immune response, autoimmune response went way down. So again, we're just looking at different ways of how can we change the input that the body receives so that we can promote healing. Once the body is in a more rested state, or in a more parasympathetic state, or it's receiving a better input, the body can then start to work on healing because inflammation is reduced, right? So again, just some fascinating things. The more I geek out on this stuff, I'm always amazed. I'm like, okay, why does that work? Yes, I feel better. Yes, I feel less pain. Yes, it soothes inflammation. But all right, what's going on? What's the studies behind it? And so I think that's really important to have that backing. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope this was knowledgeable. I wanted to give you just a quick chronic pain solution. Today, I've got an amazing interview coming up with Dr. Kian Vu. He is the author of The Thrive State, and he's an amazing speaker. He's going to be speaking at the Biohacking Conference in September, and a lot of neat things. I can't wait to dive in to him. And he talks about the 7 principles of creating this Thrive life and the bioenergetic state, and his path from being a conventional doctor and then being sick with diabetes. So it's going to be really good. That's coming up today. We're going to be live in a couple hours, so stay tuned. Look out for that episode, and have an amazing day, guys. I look forward to chatting again and jumping on tomorrow, and we'll go over some health hack Fridays. Have an amazing rest of your Thursday.